series on exploring the Psalms. And I want us to go to Psalm 125. Psalm 125. Just go there, the book of Psalms 125. And we're going to read just one verse. Psalm 125 and verse 1. Read Psalm 125, yes. Let's do two verses. Psalm 125 and verse 1 and 2. Word of God says, I'm reading from the NIV version. Those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which cannot be shaken, but endures forever. Verse 2. As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds his people, both now and forevermore. Those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which cannot be shaken, that endures, but it endures forever. As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds his people, both now and forevermore. Wow. Today, for the time that I have, I want to preach from the subject, or teach from the subject, trust issues. Trust issues. That's not a very positive statement. If you ever hear somebody say so and so has trust issues, it is not a positive statement. To have trust issues, or when we say somebody has or someone has trust issues, is when a person has a problem trusting another due to past betrayal or other personal reasons. When we say somebody has trust issues, these trust issues, whatever it is caused by mistrust due to past betrayal or other personal reasons. In psychology, they tell us if you want to know whether you have trust issues, you need to observe some of these things that I'm going to mention here. Signs that you have trust issues is that you assume betrayal, even when there is no betrayal. You await for betrayal. Because you have been betrayed before, any person or people who come into your life, you are waiting. It's like you are sure one of these days, this person will betray me. Woe unto you if you have a boss who has trust issues, because there is somebody in the organization who betrayed them, and now you have come to that position. You'll have a lot of trouble because they have trust issues. They await betrayal even when it is there. They assume betrayal even when they are not betrayed. You do something small and they conclude this is betrayal. Another sign that you have trust issues is that you are overprotective. Overprotective. This is mostly seen in relationships. Men who have trust issues, woe unto you if you smile at their women. You will have trouble because they have trust issues. They have been betrayed before. And so if they see their girlfriend or their wife greeting another man, it's war because they have trust issues. If you want to know you have trust issues, you distance yourself from others. You avoid commitment because in the past you committed yourself to a relationship, to an organization, to a church, and you are betrayed. And so your trust is broken and you cannot trust again. So you avoid commitment. I have seen this thing in the church where people come and because they've been hurt somewhere else, they don't want to commit because they are afraid of being hurt again. They are afraid of betrayal. So they don't want to commit to anything. They don't want to commit to a ministry. They don't want to commit to a church, to a relationship. Why? Because they have been hurt in the past and they fear this will be repeated. If you want to know you have trust issues, is that you don't forgive the smallest mistakes. And that's why I've said if you have a boss where you work who has trust issues, the moment you do the slightest mistake, he will conclude that you are unfit and you are betraying him or an organization, and you will find yourself in trouble. Finally, and there are so many signs, but we don't have time. When you feel lonely and depressed, and as I've said, unable to trust anyone, you are a loner because you have trust issues. What if I share this with her, with him, and they betray me? What if I open up to them and they betray me and they spread the news like so and so did when I opened up to them? And so you become lonely. It's so difficult to keep friends because you have trust issues. And now that is between us as human beings. But I stand here on this platform to say, some of us have trust issues with God. I must confess that trusting God is not easy. It is easier said than done. I must say that it's one of the hardest things to do as a believer is to trust God fully. To trust is to have confidence in something or in somebody. And why I'm saying we have challenges in trusting God is because as human beings, we operate through our senses. The 5 senses that God has given us: the sight, the touch, the smell, the hearing, and the taste. That's what we operate in as human beings. And now the challenge is that this God that we are required to trust, we can't see him. We can't touch him. We can't smell him. We can't taste him. And we can't hear him with these ears, our physical ears. There are people who have heard him talk with a physical ear, but it's not difficult. And therefore, trusting God becomes difficult. It becomes a challenge. Because we can't taste him. We can't touch him. We can't see him. We can't smell him. Yet, we are required to trust him. You see, it becomes even more challenging, friends. Because when we turn to the Bible, the first page of the Bible, God does not take time to introduce himself, who he is. I'm sure you've read your Bible. Genesis 1:1 says, in the beginning, God created. Now, God does not take time to explain who he is. It's up to us now to figure out who is this God so that we can trust in him. And it's a journey. It's a journey that we must grow in to know who he is and to be able to trust him. Let me say this, friends, that most of life challenges that we go through and that we are going through at the moment revolve around this one question. Do you trust God? Even where you are at the moment, in life, career-wise, business-wise, family-wise, in ministry, as a nation, there's this one big question that we are being asked in whatever situation that we are in. Do you trust God? We know He is there. We believe He exists. But when it comes to specifics, trusting Him for this, I tell you it's not easy. And God has to help us. Let me give you a few reasons why trusting God is not easy. And then we go to what then should we do. Number one, it is not easy to trust God. We have trust issues. Because God does not give details, but He requires obedience. God requires obedience, but God does not give us details, a lot of details in life. Let me give you a few examples. God calls Abraham in the book of Genesis chapter 12. He tells him, leave this country that you know, and go to another country that you don't know, that I'll show you, and I'll make you a father of many nations. God does not tell him, you'll have to wait for 25 years before I give you a son. At one time I'll ask you for that son, that you may sacrifice him for me. God does not give details, but He requires obedience. God appears to Joseph in a dream, and He shows him in a dream that he will become a king, a great man, and his brothers will one day bow before him. But God does not give details that before then you will be hated by your brothers. You will be sold as a slave. You will be betrayed by Potiphar's wife. You will go to prison. God does not give those details. God tells you and tells him in a dream, you will become a great man at some time. But in between, a lot of things happen. And God does not tell him. God does not give details. God calls Moses, tells Moses, go and deliver my people from Egypt and take them to the land that I promised them, the land of Canaan, the land that flows with milk and honey. Take my people there. But God, there between, so many things happen. They encounter Red Sea. They stay in the wilderness for 40 years. Many of them die there in the wilderness before they get into the promised land. The reason number one why it is difficult sometimes to trust in God is because there are no details. God does not give details of what will happen. Number two, why is it difficult sometimes to trust God? I'll say it, past experiences. Past experiences. Sometimes you thought you trusted God and things went south. And in quote, and I'm putting this in quote, you felt like God betrayed you in the past. I trusted Him that I would get this and that, and I never got it. So why should I trust Him this time round? I trusted Him for a job, and I was qualified. And I went to that interview, and I was told I have done well, and somebody else took my position. I had fasted. I had gone to church. My pastor had laid hands on me, and then I missed that opportunity. How can I trust again? It becomes difficult sometimes to trust God because of some past experiences. I remember one time as a youth in this church, I got a job somewhere many years. And I remember I got that job on a Tuesday. And I could not wait for Sunday to come and testify. And I remember those times we used to have youth services in the afternoon. And I was the first one. Nani amefanyiwa kitu na Mungu? I was the first one to raise my hand. And I stood, we used to sit this side. I stood here. I told people, you see what happens when you trust in God. I've been waiting for this, and a door has been opened. Trust in God. Pray. Fast. God has done it for me, and people, watu wakashangilia. And I lost the job on Monday. And it affected me. I'm not very quick to give testimonies. God is helping me. Because I felt, oh God, I could not face people again. When people asked me, kazi inaendeleaje? I didn't know what to tell them. And I'm sure I'm not alone. Some of us have been very quick to testify. And then things go wrong. And you feel, oh God, can I trust you? Can I trust you? Some of us have gone to hospitals and we have found sick people. And we have prayed and we have told, maybe it's our relatives, and we have told the doctor and the nurse, they will recover. They will get well. The Lord has confirmed it in my heart. And then 2 days later, you get a call that they are gone. And you're not able to trust God fully because of past experiences. Quickly, number 3, why is it difficult sometimes to trust God? Because his ways are not our ways. And his thoughts are not our thoughts. It is difficult sometimes to trust God because we expected him to come through this door. And then he comes through the roof. So we are left wondering. His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. Isaiah says in the book of Isaiah 55, 8 and 9. Habakkuk was disturbed at one time. If you read the book of Habakkuk, he had questions. He was wondering, God, why are you quiet? See what is happening. See what is happening among your people. But I like it because at the conclusion of the book of Habakkuk, this man is able to trust God again. And I believe you and I, we shall be able to trust God again. The second last reason why sometimes it's difficult to trust in God is because his timing is different from our timing. We go by years and by birthdays, by months and by weeks. Where the Bible tells us in the book of 2 Peter 3:8, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years before God is like a day. And therefore, because our timing and God's timing is far apart, we find it challenging sometimes to trust him. We find it challenging to trust God because many times God seems not to be in a hurry. We want things to happen now or yesterday if possible. And God seems not to be in a hurry. He takes his time. And it becomes a challenge sometimes, friends, to trust in God. But this is the key reason why it is difficult sometimes to trust in God. It's because we don't know him well. We don't know him well. In human relationships, a person you don't know well, it's not easy to trust him. I believe that is why Paul's desire was to know this God. To know him so well that he can trust in him. We don't know him well. We've not had time with him. We've not had enough time with him in study of his word, in prayer, in fellowship. We've not had time with him so that he can reveal himself to us, so that he can reveal his secrets to us. And that's why we find it difficult sometimes to trust in him. And friends, though trusting God is not easy, we must endeavor to do it. Failure to which we will find ourselves in a lot of problems and shaky grounds. Most of challenges we have found ourselves in, even now. Some of the pits we have fallen into. If we sat down and analyzed, how did I get here? You will realize at some point you failed to trust God. You failed to trust him. And so you went to some friends who gave you some wrong advice. And then finally you found yourself in some pit. Why should we trust God? We are talking about trusting in God this afternoon. We should trust God because of his character. Though we don't understand everything about him, his character is that he is a loving, merciful, and kind God. Because of his character, which is unchangeable, we can trust in him. We can trust in him because of his ability. For with him, nothing is impossible. With him, nothing is impossible. So whatever mountain is before you, whatever situation is before you, you can trust in him, and you should trust in him because of his ability. Nothing is impossible with him. We can trust him. Though we don't understand, though we don't have the details, we can trust in him because of his ability. We can trust in him, friends, because of his proven record. Those before us who have trusted in him have achieved great success. And even ourselves, we can look back and see times when we trusted in him and he came through for us. We can look back and see the battles he has fought for us in the past and be able to trust him even now. We can trust him, friends, because he is not a man. He cannot lie. What he has said he will do at the right time, at the appointed time. We can trust in his character. We can trust in his ability. We can trust in his proven record. We can trust him because he is not a man to lie. Let me touch this issue that sometimes people feel uneasy. The reason some of us struggle to tithe, you know why? It's an issue of trust. We feel like if I give this 10%, can I trust God? Can I trust God to open the windows of heaven? I'll go hungry. This 10% is so important to me. If you find yourself struggling with the 10%, you have trust issues. God needs to work in us. This is just one of the examples. So our prayer, friends, this afternoon should be like that of the disciples. At one time they told the Lord, Lord, increase our faith. Increase our faith. Give us grace in 2021 to trust you. I've said the issues that you are facing this year, in your job, in your business, in your ministry, in your family, in your body, your health, they all revolve around this one question. Do you trust God? Do you trust that He is able to come through and intervene and change the situation? Friends, for you and I to grow in this area of trusting God, I've said we need to know Him. And the way to know Him so that we can trust Him fully is by spending time with Him in prayer. And I thank God for this church this week. We are spending it in prayer. For the members of this church that are watching and those of us that are here, this is a wonderful moment God has given us to spend time with Him that we may know Him. And also we know Him by the study of His Word. As you interact with His Word, you get to know Him and your trust is built. We grow our trust by fellowship. Fellowshipping with others. That's why there should be no excuse as to why you don't attend a church service or a fellowship on a Sunday. By being there, you continue to know the Lord. But above all, we have to have this great desire to know Him, like that of Paul. We must have this unquenchable desire in our hearts to know Him. Because when we know Him, we are able to trust Him. We are able to trust Him. Like Job, this man knew God. No wonder he said, though you slay me, yet shall I trust in you. Job knew God at a level that I dare say many of us are yet to get there. Do you trust God? I've said it's not easy, friends. It's not easy. We have to grow in this area of trusting God. We have to grow in this area. And God is asking all of us, those watching, those of us that are here, and those who will watch this later. God is asking, do you trust me in this issue? Do you trust that I'm able? Do you trust that I can make a way here? Do you trust that I can heal you? Do you trust that I can open a door for you? Do you trust that I can expand your territory? Do you trust me? Or do you have trust issues with me? You see, the word we read, Bible says those that trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion that can never be moved. Days of shaking are coming. And your trust in God, one of these days, will be tested. Whether what you tell us, what I tell you, is real. Will we stand when that time comes, the time of shaking? Trust in God. I've said, when we trust in God, we become as stable as Mount Zion that can never be moved by issues of life and circumstances. Trust in God. It's a journey that we must walk. It's a journey that we must move. For the young people that could be watching, trust in God will take you places. For the singles that are looking at the clock and you are wondering, do I trust Him for another year? I challenge you to trust in Him. His timing is not like our timing. His thoughts are not our thoughts. His ways are not our ways. We have to grow in this area of trusting in him. I want us to read Psalm 20 as our prayer as we conclude today's message. Psalm chapter 20, just a few verses. I'm going to read all of them, and then we pray, and we are done. This is what the word of God says. And this is our prayer this afternoon. May the Lord answer you when you are in distress. May the name of the God of Jacob protect you. May he send you help from the sanctuary and grant you support from Zion. May he remember all your sacrifices and accept your burnt offerings. May he give you the desire of your heart and make all your plans succeed. May we shout for joy over your victory and lift up our banners in the name of our God. May the Lord grant all your requests. Now, this I know, the Lord gives victory to his anointed. He answers him from his heavenly sanctuary with the victorious power of his right hand. Now, verse 7. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. May that be our confession. In 2021, may that be our confession. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. They are brought down to their knees and fall, but we rise up and stand.